special counsel to investigate and prosecute violations of prohibited personnel practices, especially whistleblowing. In order for the OSC to complete its mission, agencies are required to produce complete and unredacted documents to the Office of Special Counsel. Unfortunately, the TSA is not fulfilling their legal obligation to produce documents, frustrating OSC's investigative efforts. And I can tell you with a passion on both sides of this aisle, it is not acceptable to withhold information. It is something we have both committed to on both sides of the aisle to help protect and ensure that whistleblowers are protected. You have a right in this government as a government employee to blow the whistle. But when the TSA withholds documents and does not allow the OSC to do its job, that's wholly unacceptable. Former TSA Administrator Peter Neffinger testified before the committee last May that the TSA would base its response to allegations of whistleblower retaliation on OSC's findings. But now TSA is withholding the documents OSC needs to complete its investigation. So on one hand, you have the TSA Administrator saying, oh, we're going to base our conclusions on the findings of OSC, but the TSA won't give all the information to the OSC. Today, I do not want to hear about how voluminous the documents are. I don't want to hear about how many you've given them. There is but one metric that is important to me, and that is the percentage. If you dare go to the place to tell us about how many documents you've turned over, every time you do so, we will ask you what percentage of the documents did you actually turn over. TSA is one of the agencies in most need of the OSC's work. Since 2012, the OSC received approximately 243 cases from TSA employees alleging retaliation for blowing the whistle. A lot happens, very few blow the whistle, but when they blow the whistle, to have 243 people say that there was retaliation is a number that is a flashing red light and scares us. The committee is constantly hearing how complaints from TSA employees about how the agency is a hostile work environment for whistleblowers. It has been almost a year since our last hearing on the mismanagement at the agency. It's disheartening that we find ourselves here again. It's frustrating and it shouldn't happen. TSA selectively withholds information from OSC by asserting a common law attorney-client privilege that does not apply to interagency disputes. TSA's chief counsel, Francine Kerner, the agency's chief counsel since the agency's inception more than 15 years ago, could not identify the client holding the privilege. When pressed, Kerner informed the staff that, quote, TSA has no legal obligation to turn over documents to the OSC, end quote. Kerner's inability as chief counsel to articulate who she represents and her withholding of information shows a fundamental misunderstanding and antagonism towards the OSC's function. Interestingly, the TSA later sent the committee a letter stating, quote, TSA recognizes its legal obligation to provide documents to the OSC and does so regularly, end quote. In fact, I'd ask unanimous consent to enter that letter into the record. It was sent to us on March 4th without objection, so ordered. It was sent to us March 1st, 2017. It's not about doing it regularly, it's about doing it always. And that is something that drives us here today. The OSC gets to see all of it, 100% of it, not a portion of it, not some of it, not just the parts you want them to see. The OSC gets to see all of it. That means 100%. Furthermore, it should not take a congressional hearing for the TSA to acknowledge an existing legal obligation. Similar to the agency's non-cooperation with the OSC, the committee has long criticized the agency's use of sensitive security information, an SSI designation, to withhold information. In 2014, the committee issued a bipartisan report, finding that the agency inconsistently and improperly designated certain information as SSI simply to prevent embarrassing information from being made public. But these problems persist. According to the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General, quote, TSA is abusing its stewardship of the SSI program. None of these redactions will make us safer and simply highlight the inconsistent and arbitrary nature of decisions that TSA cannot be trusted to administer the program in a reasonable manner, end quote. That's about as damning as it gets. That is as direct as it can possibly be. In a recent transcribed interview with the committee, former TSA Deputy Administrator Mark Hatfield told the committee, and I quote, "You could mark a Chinese carryout menu SSI," end quote. Talk about an abuse of the system. A Chinese menu, that was his example. The issue with transparency at TSA tend to have one thing in common, and that's Francine Kerner, the Office of Chief Counsel. She seems to be the conduit and the person that we continually bump into. Kerner has checkered history and has a duty to share information. As a lawyer for the Treasury Department in the early 1990s, she was the subject of an investigation for improperly disclosing confidential information to the White House. Now she's advocating for the TSA to withhold information on alleged whistleblower retaliation from the agency charged to investigate it. There's something fundamentally totally wrong and backwards about that. The committee will not tolerate these impediments, especially when it comes to protecting whistleblowers and ensuring transparency. The acting administrator is here today. We're requesting today you right this wrong and immediately turn over all information withheld from the OSC and put an end to the practice. We're going to give you a very short timeline to do so, and we will follow up. So I'll recognize the ranking member, Mr. Cummings of Maryland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And last week, our committee conducted an extraordinary interview at my request with Mark Hatfield, who served as the Deputy Administrator of the TSA and worked at the agency for some 13 years. He explained to the committee that TSA employees
through our complaints examining unit. When I first started, it was an average of closer to 30 days.
Thank you so much.
Gentlewoman yields back, and now recognize myself. Ms. Gawadia, you said that TSA has zero tolerance on those that are applying retaliation to whistleblowers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that the TSA, so if an employee believes that they have been retaliated against, who is or what organization is the one that comes in to figure out whether or not there has been retaliation?
So employees at TSA are afforded all protections from the Whistleblower Act. All TSA employees are. So they can go up any number of channels. They can go up to the EEOC line, the MSPB line, or the OSC line. They can even...
Okay, so let's take the OSC for example.
Certainly.
The whistleblower says, I've been retaliated against. The TSA says, no, they haven't. There's a dispute. OSC is one of the organizations, I think the primary organization, to resolve that dispute, correct?
Certainly.
You
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that?
Yes, sir.
So what percentage of the information should the OSC be able to review in order to figure out the right conclusion?
So the OSC should have all the information they need to figure it out.
Define all of the information.
So I appreciate where you're headed with your question on the information we redact for attorney-client privilege issues. In that regard, I have to say we follow departmental guidance.
Wait. There's the law, and then there's departmental guidance. You said you believed that the OSC should get all of the information. What percentage is all?
So I said...
No. It's a simple question.
I hear you.
I want to be clear in what I'm asking. If she is to get all of the information, which you said,
well, actually,
what percentage is all?
All would be mathematically 100%, but my sentence was all the appropriate information.
Appropriate. So what do you believe the OSC should not see?
Sir, the attorney-client privileged information is presently redacted. I know you don't want to hear numbers, so I'm not going to give you numbers, but it is a very small fraction.
The only number I want to hear from you is that we give the OSC 100% of the information. That's what I want to hear you say. You said you give them all, that they should have all. How are they supposed to come to a proper conclusion when you only give them something short of 100%?
So in this regard, again, I have to stress that TSA is not an agency independent. We belong to a department. We follow guidance that the department gives us. Now, as a part of this hearing, we have this, your concern has been raised. I can assure you that we will follow up with this at the department level, make guidance in writing if we have to, make it so that we are.
Okay, so you said it's department guidance. When will you provide this committee that department guidance that says that the attorney-client privilege prohibits you from giving the information to the OSC? When will I have that on my desk?
So I have already raised the matter with the department's general counsel, and I will work with them to get you.
No, I want a date certain.
Unfortunately, sir, this is not up to me. I am not the.
You're the acting administrator of the TSA. You got 50,000+ employees. You don't have the. You're relying on guidance from the department, and you're going to withhold that information from Congress?
Sir, to my best of my knowledge, the guidance is not in writing. We are working to get the practice.
You don't have. You just made this up. It's not in writing.
So it is a standard practice.
No, it's not. Mr. Roth or Ms. Lerner, is this a standard practice?
No, it's not. There is no attorney-client privilege when one government agency is investigating another government agency. It's very much akin to what the IGs do.
Do you see this with any? Do you see this with any other department or agency or whatever you want to call it?
From time to time, but not to the extent that we're seeing it with TSA.
Mr. Roth, what's your experience with this?
We are part of the Department of Homeland Security, so we get everything, whether it's attorney-client or not.
Ms. Gawadia, I want you to provide the guidance to this office next Friday. Is that fair? A week from tomorrow?
So I will work with the department to get you something by next Friday.
Let me ask you this. What do you think Congress has the right to see? If I ask for all the information, what percentage of the documentation will you give us?
So again, when it comes to attorney-client privilege, I am not in a position to.
Yes, you are. You're the acting administrator. I'm asking you right now to provide the information that the OSC has asked for. I want you to provide it to this committee.
So may I offer something? Yesterday we came visit with Mr. Meadows, and as a part of getting ready for this hearing, this concern has come to my attention in a very strong way. I went back and I asked my staff to do a quick look and see, have we ever had any concern expressed by the OSC to us in the information we have redacted? Has that kept them from proceeding on a case? We found 2 instances. I believe Ms. Lerner has 4 in her statement. I have as of yesterday, if we ever redact a piece of information from the OSC, we will always accompany it with a privilege log. And that will allow OSC to have more information on the information that has been redacted.
Okay, so when will you provide the OSC the privilege log? When will you do that?
If I may, that would not be sufficient.
I'm not saying that's an endpoint.
A privilege log suggests that there actually is a privilege. Right. It's our position that there is no attorney-client privilege.
But I would like
to be appropriate.
Your point is well taken, and I concur with it. But I would be interested to see all the different times that the TSA is taking this so-called privilege, which we don't buy into. When will you provide that to the OSC and to the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform? When will I have that on my desk?
The privilege logs?
Yes.
With every document that we issue henceforth, we will issue.
No, not in the future. I want to know all the ones in the past.
So I am not familiar with how many records.
It doesn't matter how many. I want to know when I'm going to have all of them.
Well, sorry.
You have a week from Friday, okay? A week from Friday, or I'll issue a subpoena. And guess what? I don't need a committee vote. I don't need to go ask a judge. I can do it myself, and I'm telling you here on national television, you will get a subpoena for that information. You should provide it voluntarily. We do not buy into this whole notion that there is any such privilege. Secondly, the information that the OSC is asking for, where they don't have 100% of the documents, when will we as a committee have that?
So again, I would have to take that question for the record because this is a departmental position that I am not unilaterally allowed to circumvent.
Tell me who at the Department of Homeland Security is holding you back?
So I have to work with the Office of General Counsel.
Give me some names. I want to know who to call up here.
The Office of General Counsel.
No.
The General Counsel to the Secretary.
Give me a specific name. That's a big office. There's lots of attorneys. Tell me the attorneys that are telling you not to provide this information to Congress, and tell me the names of the attorneys that are telling you not to provide this to the OSC. I want names.
So I will follow up with you and your
No, I
staff
want you
after.
right now. You've had notice of this hearing. I need specific names. You got staff sitting there. How many staff are with the TSA?
So
How many staff are with the TSA or in this audience right now? Please raise your hands. Who's paid by the TSA? How many people? Wait a second. 1, 2, 3. Hold them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One of these 7 people has got to get on the phone, get your butt up out of this committee, and go get that information before this hearing's done. I want to have names, and we're going to call them up there. There is no way. We're going to go to the ends of the earth to protect whistleblowers. And we have this OSC. Ms. Lerner has testified time and time again. We believe in her and her organization. She needs 100% of the information. Not some of it, not some that you don't want to have, not the embarrassing. She needs all of it. And I want names of who at the Homeland Security is prohibiting people from giving that information to the OSC.
Mr. Chaffetz, I have asked my staff to step out and obtain permission from the department to give you a name before the hearing is done.
Thank you. And I need to know what information. Let me ask you this one conceptual question. I'll turn the time to to the Democrat. What information do you believe should be withheld from Congress?
So I don't believe information should be withheld from Congress unless there are certain provisions, such as the attorney-client privilege, which, again, my hands are tied by departmental policy. I cannot take unilateral action because there are ripple effects across the department. That having been said, I will tell you that when it comes to SSI information, all of this is, we are completely transparent, not just with you, but with the IG, with your staff. They have full privilege to all the information when it comes to SSI and things like that. But when it comes to the attorney-client privilege element, so I
think we've established here that that is so bogus. You're making it up. That may be what the attorneys are telling you. You're a very talented, smart person. Appreciate the work that you do on behalf of the United States of America. But we've got whistleblowers who think they're getting retaliated against. And I want you to stop hiding behind some legalese and throwing attorneys into meetings so you don't have to provide documents. We don't see this problem at this magnitude anywhere else except the TSA, and that's why we're going to get to the bottom of it. I've gone well past my time. We're going to recognize Ms. Lawrence of Michigan for 5 minutes and some more if she needs it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr.